What is this, like the 8th or 9th millionaire, billionaire we've had change their mind last minute? It's pretty frustrating, but understandable, I guess. My name's Baz McDonald. I'm a journalist who grew up not too far from here in central Southland. During my childhood, one of my obsessions was post-apocalyptic fiction. In particular, this book by Neville Shute called On the Beach. He theorized that in a nuclear holocaust scenario, New Zealand, my home, would be one of the only places to survive.
In the last year, reports have been coming out of America discussing New Zealand as a bolt hole in case of catastrophe. A New Yorker article said that in Silicon Valley circles, talking about buying a house in New Zealand is shorthand for apocalypse insurance. In the wake of this, Bloomberg reported that Texan company Rising S shipped several thousand square foot deluxe survival bunkers to New Zealand. Units they say could be buried in secret and are only locatable with a GPS coordinate. That's why we're here in Queenstown. Over the past 2 decades, this town and its surrounding regions have become a haven for the rich and powerful. To paint a picture of what that looks like, the airport behind me routinely runs out of space for private jets. This is the town where Peter Thiel and many other financial giants have their bolt holes. If they've built survival bunkers here, we're going to see if we can find one.
Welcome to the Rising S Company. Located about an hour east of Dallas in Murchison, Texas, Rising S is the nation's biggest and best builder of above-ground and below-ground all-steel shelters and luxury bunkers. We are in the business of protecting people and saving lives.
Great to see you, mate.
Hey, how you doing?
Can you tell me a bit about how many bunkers and what kind of bunkers there are in New Zealand?
I guess no one knows the true answer to how many bunkers are in New Zealand, but I have 38 to date in New Zealand.
What sort of catastrophes are they designed to withstand?
From the outside elements, that can mean, civil unrest where you're worried about the neighbor or the people from a nearby neighborhood. They could protect you from any type of weather event or nuclear war.
When you speak to those clients who are wanting a survival bunker here, do they talk about any specific concerns?
Collapse of society brought on by an economic event. If your neighbor has children and his children are hungry, he's going to do whatever it takes. If that means killing you, stealing from you, whatever it takes, he's going to do whatever he needs to do to feed his family.
Does it worry you that these people who are so informed are preparing so rapidly for something coming?
It used to worry me. If you knew some of the people that own shelters as well as people that own shelters in New Zealand, it would make you scratch your head and start asking yourself, what do they know that I don't?
Yeah, it worries me that Peter Thiel has a bunker. Oh, that is a stern face. Let's say I was skeptical. Is there any way that I could see one of your bunkers in New Zealand?
No. If you bought a bunker from me, the last thing I'm going to do is ask you to show someone else your bunker.
Right.
That would give me a very bad name.
Indeed, I guess it would. Thanks so much, mate. There's a chance there's 38 bunkers here, but there's also a chance that, he's talking it up. Maybe there's only 8 or 9 bunkers here, and it just is better business sense to say there's 38 of them. There could be 0. There could very well be none. If we were going to track one of these things down, he said that 90% of the people installing bunkers here are from overseas. So who we really need to talk to next is someone kind of tapped into that international crowd. Trey Ratcliffe is a world-renowned photographer who moved to Queenstown with his family 6 years ago. Some of his unique prints have sold for over $1 million, many to Silicon Valley types, so he might have a good sense of what they're thinking. So people are upset that Peter Thiel got his citizenship in 12 days. Do you think it's fair that people like him should be able to buy their citizenship in New Zealand?
If New Zealand is full of bright, clever, wealthy people, it's good for New Zealand. Governments could do something more innovative than they're doing. They could have like a subscription to the passport where every year you pay $5 or $10 million. And the people that want to move here, they can pay a lot of extra money for New Zealand, and New Zealand starts to be filled up with smart, clever people.
Do you think that it might run amok if people start using their money and influence to run things the way they want them?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that rich people would come here and break all the rules. I think that's an unfounded fear. I think that people just want to come here and have a good life and contribute and be good citizens.
Having worked with some of these guys in Silicon Valley, do you think they have cause to be worried?
I think it's a concern that a lot of them have because, you know, they're clever and they're hyper involved with social networks. They kind of see the way the world's going, and I think it's probably a valid concern. Like, no one's sure what's going to happen, and I think that when they do put on their pessimistic hat, they think, oh, maybe I should have a backup plan.
Do you think then that the follow-up reports saying that survival bunkers are being shipped here are also accurate?
I have no idea. I don't know. I think if you're wealthy enough and you're going to get a place here, and if you want to have a bunker, then why wouldn't you?
Next up, I tracked down Roger Tompkins, a Queenstown local who runs a boutique tourist agency called Iron Man in New Zealand that specialises in providing exclusive experiences for wealthy visitors. What's one of the most memorable experiences you've taken a client on, or maybe one of the most specific experiences that clients asked for?
Well, look, New Zealand's a very amiable place. You know, we're still very open and we're still very receptive for the most part, even in Queenstown. And I did have a client out here who had his family here and was called on a conference call for a whole day. It was a beautiful blue sky day up at the ski field. So the deal I have with most of my suppliers is they know that my clients have certain requirements and also have pockets deep enough to be able to pay for those requirements. So I rang the ski field manager at 20 to 4 and said I'd like to keep the field open for my client until 5:30. And although there was a little bit of silence on the end of the phone, he said, yes, that'll be fine. And I popped down to the office with my American Express card and sorted everything out at 5:30 and had a very, very happy client.
Money kind of buys you your own set of rules as well.
Money buys you, you know best that. Of course money buys you your own set of rules.
How long have you been in Queenstown, Rog?
35 years on and off now.
How have you seen in those past 35 years Queenstown change?
Well, I mean, look, it's addictive. I mean, anyone who comes here goes, this is like Wonderland. Where do you get this kind of isolation and these kind of views?
From up here, it's really easy to see the rapid expansion and development taking place in Queenstown. Everywhere you look in Queenstown, there's some kind of construction going on, whether it be a small site like this one or huge subdevelopments away from the city itself. But it's hard to look at any of them and imagine a survival bunker underneath it. So we took a drive to look at some of the more exclusive properties outside the town centre. So we're just east of Queenstown at the moment on the lake shore of Lake Hayes, and they call this the Golden Mile because all of these houses with a view of the lake are probably upwards of $5 million. They're all gorgeous houses, but I'd say a lot of them are empty most of the year. So around here, there's lots of spectacular properties and private estates. But interestingly, there is a property owned by a man called Tony Malkin, who's one of the part owners of the Empire State Building. And he has an incredible piece of property where he's building several buildings on, which are designed to be subterranean. So we tried to get access to this property and Tony Malkin said no, but there's a mountain nearby and we're gonna climb it and see if we can actually see into this estate. The area is so mountainous that even if you climb a mountain, there's still going to be a mountain blocking the thing that you want to see. With our drone, we could see a huge building being constructed deep below ground level. Could this include one of the Rising East bunkers? Maybe, but we couldn't tell from this distance, so we kept looking. So we're just driving around the hills beside Queenstown where there's a lot of incredible properties. I'm looking for one in particular, and that's the house that Peter Thiel bought a couple of years ago. I know it's somewhere around here. Wait. I think this is it here. Yeah, this is definitely it. This is Peter Thiel's house in Queenstown. The locals nicknamed it the plasma screen when the last guy built it. There may not be a survival bunker, but we know that in 2015 when there was a fire there, they put a panic room in, so he's preparing for something. Hi.
How you doing?
We were looking for Peter. Peter Thiel?
No, why is that?
We were looking for the plasma screen. It's hard to tell from this.
But what for? No cameras, please.
Oh,
No, we don't do anything like that.
But is Peter in Queenstown at the
No.
moment? He's not.
No, he's one of the most private people in the world.
We
so,
understand that. But again,
I
God
can't help
loves
you.
a trier.
Yeah.
So Peter Thiel wasn't home, but that's hardly surprising considering he got his citizenship in 12 days when the official rules say that you have to be in the country a minimum of 1,300. I mean, Peter Thiel is worth over $2 billion. He was a founder of PayPal and an early investor in Facebook. He said one of his biggest influences was a book called The Sovereign Individual. The book describes a world where everything is commercialized and privatized, including citizenship. So maybe we're closer to that future than we think. So obviously it would have been nice to get into Peter Thiel's property, but I think there's pretty much zero chance of that happening. So we're going to meet up with this guy, Ollie Wall, who works with his dad, Graham Wall. Graham actually sold Peter Thiel all his properties in New Zealand. So Ollie's going to show us one of these high-end properties and hopefully we can see if there's a bunker in it. Wow. So how much would a house like this cost?
So this one we expect around $10 million for, and although that's a lot of money, we've sold many more than that. As far as deals we've done, that'd sit about in the middle.
Are they coming in and saying, hey, I'm going to pay cash for this building right now? Or are they saying, look, I've got this holding company, can you please do your business through them?
In my experience, which is unusual, the more valuable the property, the smoother the transaction. These people are used to dealing with large sums of money.
Have you ever sold a house in New Zealand that has a survival bunker in it?
Not a survival bunker as such. I sold one house that had the stairs that actually come up. So you walk into an atrium like this, open the front door, it's got this beautiful staircase that comes down. Apparently there's a button and the stairs can come up. I've sold plenty of houses with great big wine cellars, and I guess if something absolutely crazy happened, it'd be a good place to be.
So what do you reckon that there's like a button somewhere? It might be too Bond-esque to have like a combination of keys on the piano. Although these ones are discoloured. It's an incredible house, but I don't think that there's a survival bunker here. So let's say I did buy this house.
Yeah.
And I wanted to install one
You're
of these.
welcome to, by the way.
Yeah? And I wanted to install one of these bunkers underneath. There would be some consent process.
Yeah, I mean, even to build a wing on a house is a nightmare to get through council. Everyone's talking about it all the time. But secondly, anyone would know that that's there. You can go and get a property report on any house in New Zealand. You could do it to my property and know absolutely everything about it. So almost impossible to kind of, slip that under the radar.
If you need consents to bury a bunker, we decided to talk to the people who deal with the paperwork. Hey Quinn, how you doing, mate?
Hey, babe.
So good to meet you. I wasn't quite expecting my Queenstown doppelganger, but it's good.
Yeah, I thought there was a mirror coming towards me.
I'm a paranoid billionaire, and I want to install a survival bunker in Queenstown. What would I have to do through the district council to make that legal?
For a start, you're going to need to get a building consent, right? Go and get a building consent, you need to get a builder. Got to get them to help you out, fill these documents out. What I've got here is a 17-page checklist, slab, all the mid-floor, the top floor, roof and ceiling framing, the whole kit and caboodle. Got insulation checklists, an application for an on-site water disposal system. So that's just the building consent stuff. So once that's done, then you've got to go through the building part, and there's all the inspections at every stage before you can move on to the next part, and then there's a big final inspection.
So if there was a bunker in Queenstown, there'd be all this paperwork if it was legal. In the past 10 years, is there paperwork for anything like this?
No, there's nothing.
Is there like a specification that you would have for a structure of that kind? Or like if someone wants to build a wine cellar and designs it to look like a wine cellar, but really they're retrofitting it for a survival scenario, would there be any way to see that in the way they'd put in consent?
Yeah, well, I mean, most wine cellars won't have toilets and showers and all that sort of carry on.
That leaves the only option for a bunker installed in Queenstown in the last 10 years to be unconsented and hence illegal, right?
Yeah, it would be. Yep. Do you know of any?
We're here in Wanaka in central Otago, and behind me is the property that Peter Thiel bought in 2015. Now, he hasn't submitted any consents to build a survival bunker here, but he's Peter Thiel. He's an outspoken libertarian. He's been reported many times as being opposed to pretty much any form of regulation. And I mean, it kind of fulfills the whole point of a survival bunker. If you have to put in paperwork and tell the council and then the public has a way of knowing, then it removes the whole point of having a safe place that you can get to without anyone else knowing.
To actually put something underground wouldn't be a problem from a structural point of view if we met the requirements of the New Zealand Building Code.
Let's say you didn't want the paper trail of consents. Do you think you could bury it without the council knowing?
Oh, it'd be quite easy, I'd say. Well, Jesus, the area's pretty vast. There's some pretty open spaces with not many people about, so.
Is it a little strange to live in a city where most of the houses you look at are probably empty most of the year?
That's probably the most disappointing thing. We've got a shortage of housing, and then there's a lot of empty houses. You can talk about all the built environment and all that, but it's actually the people that actually make a community the way it is.
All of this wealth is pouring into Queenstown. Do you think it's trickling down?
If you're talking about offshore investors buying bolt holes here, then no, that wealth isn't trickling down into the lower levels by any means.
What is the affordable housing situation like in Queenstown?
Well, there's a real lack of affordable housing in Queenstown, not just houses to buy, but also rental properties.
What is the effect then on the people of Queenstown? Are people really struggling here?
It's actually huge, and we could say mentally, emotionally. They're suffering from depression, they're suffering from being overwhelmed because they can't make ends meet each week. I've had in the last probably 2 months about 3 locals, we're talking 28 to 30 years, that have just packed up and left.
Hi, Dean.
Yes.
Hi, Bez.
It's really hard on the bones of the community, the people that actually live and work here, the ones that are actually making everyone's coffees, that are filling people's cars, that are all of that, because they've got nowhere to live. They can't afford to live here. And so we're going to lose all of that. We're going to lose teachers, we're going to lose the police, all those sort of people are having to move out of town because there's nowhere affordable for them to rent.
What about when you hear about people like Peter Thiel, who spent 12 days in New Zealand and got given his citizenship? You know, he can now call this country, this town, home as much as anyone else. How do you feel about that?
Oh, well, it's quite interesting when, you know, we've got friends that have spent 12 years here and have only just got their residency. So I sit there and think, oh, how?
So Trey just messaged me and said that he wants to show us what people think of as a bunker in Queenstown, which is cool, but it's interesting that some people are coming here thinking about the end of the world, and yet some others who actually live here are just thinking about getting through the rest of the week. This is the Hills golf course near Arrowtown. Ironically, the clubhouse is known to members as The Bunker. Trey Ratcliffe wanted to meet me here because he had remembered a time where he had found himself inside an actual survival bunker here in Queenstown.
I have a art collector who's bought a bunch of my pieces, and we got to be pretty good friends. He really trusted me. And so one day he goes, Trey, come on over. So I came over to his place. He goes, I need you to help me with something. And suddenly, I was helping him carry a ton of gold bricks down into his bunker.
Are you joking?
Yeah. I was like, man, this guy really trusts me.
Gold bricks?
Yeah.
Did it kind of look like it was set up to survive and they could close the door and sort of live down there?
Yeah, I think he could live down there.
Did he seem like that's what he was preparing to do?
I don't know. We didn't talk too much about it. I was just kind of looking around and amazed. We didn't spend a lot of bunker convo time. I just kind of helped him carry that stuff, and then we went off and had a wine.
Just a normal Saturday in Queenstown?
Yeah.
As much as I tried, Trey just wouldn't reveal where the bunker was or who owned it. So we were left back at square one, still trying to get a look inside the properties of the wealthy and powerful.
Something we're really interested in for this piece is buildings with subterranean spaces in them, and we'd heard that there's a great subterranean space in this property.
I've not had a positive response from regarding I'm afraid, just not enough control on the message. It's just a shitty time of year and we're all flat out. I'm back in Queenstown next Monday night around January 2nd. What does that mean? It means fuck off, is what it means.
What is this, like the 8th or 9th millionaire, billionaire we've had change their mind last minute? It's pretty frustrating, but understandable, I guess.
It seemed like we'd hit a dead end. Nobody wanted to talk to us, let alone show us around their houses. The wealthy foreigners who are buying in Queenstown seem inaccessible, hidden behind companies or representatives and usually living somewhere else entirely. But with their money and influence, they're changing Queenstown in ways that seem to be hurting normal people on regular wages. It made me wonder how safe New Zealand really is from the problems of the world.
So after all that drama, I just got texted the code to the gate at Wairuna Preserve. So I don't actually think we'll be able to get into the house, the $33 million property we hope to get into, but we could actually get into the gated community and at least have a look around. So we're on our way to Wairuna Preserve, which is an exclusive gated community an hour north of Queenstown. One of the houses there cost $33 million, which is the third most expensive piece of residential real estate in New Zealand history. Whether or not there's a bunker here, this is the pinnacle of how the global elite live in New Zealand. It's remote, it's exclusive, and it's very, very expensive. There may not be a bunker, but these are definitely the bunker people. Far out. So there's a gatehouse, but we've got a code, so I'm just gonna plug the code in real quick and we're gonna go in. Access granted.
There are 33 different properties on this vast private estate overlooking Lake Wakatipu. As we drove around, the most striking thing we noticed is that, apart from tradespeople, there was nobody at home in any of these houses. It was kind of strange to see these huge mansions in this stunning spot, all sitting completely empty.
Oh shit, there's a digger over there. What is this going to be eventually?
This is going to be a lodge owned by an American family. Basically, we're standing on the house pad right now, and then out from those pegs out there is a big lawn with a pergola or a barbecue area. And over to our right is a helipad. So at the back here, which is a garage, big garage, we have to go down about 8 metres.
Right.
And then the builders will come in and do the concrete pad, a retaining wall, and then we put all the earth and that back over the top, so it all looks natural.
Oh, so the garage is going to sort of be covered over?
Big man cave.
Big man cave. Big bunker? Big survival bunker?
Well, no, this is down in here. There's a big basement under the house, which will contain a spa and sauna and plunge pool and all that.
So you think the survival bunker is down there?
Oh, I don't know whether it's a survival bunker. I think the Americans come out here because it's a safe place to live. I mean, if I was in a country that was in jeopardy and something could possibly happen, I'd want somewhere that I could get out and get to.
What if they bring their jeopardy here?
Well, that's, you know, I don't know. I don't think that'll happen.
Okay, so look here. You'd say this is a garage, right? Then what the fuck is this? Buried deep beneath the hill. If your plan said that this was a garage, there's all kinds of permits which say you can have little kitchenettes and running water to hose down your car and all those sorts of things. So like, you wouldn't need permits or consents for a bunker because this is a garage, but it's not. It's not a garage. That's the garage. You know, I don't know if Rising Yes are telling the truth about burying 38 bunkers here, but what we have found is that the global elite are coming here, and they do seem to be preparing for something. They're not preparing for the science fiction apocalypse that I read about as a kid. They seem to be preparing for some kind of financial collapse where rich individuals could end up more powerful than governments. And in that future, you don't need some steel box that you bury under the ground. What you need is somewhere safe, far from the rest of the world, with a clean, livable environment, and perhaps with a government small enough where anything is available for the right price. Maybe even citizenship. I wonder if that place is New Zealand.